My dear friends, what you thought was exhaustion is actually recalibration. What you assumed was breakdown is divine construction. What you feared was loss is God creating space for something your current form could not carry. You were not selected at random. You were not awakened by accident. You were not separated to be abandoned. You were chosen because what is coming requires a different capacity, a different stamina, a different internal design. God is not merely changing your circumstances. God is rewiring your body, your mind, and your inner being for what is ahead. And once you understand this, you will stop fighting the process and start cooperating with the transformation. There are seasons when God does not announce Himself with noise, miracles, or visible breakthroughs. Instead, God works in silence, in isolation, in pressure, and in discomfort. Chosen ones often misinterpret these seasons because they expect elevation to feel like excitement, but true preparation often feels like dismantling. God removes what cannot go where you are going. God interrupts habits, disrupts sleep, alters appetite, shifts energy levels, and even changes how your body responds to stress. This is not punishment. This is precision. God never prepares someone halfway. When God assigns a future, God adjusts the vessel to sustain it. Many of you are wondering why your body no longer responds the way it used to. Why you cannot tolerate environments you once survived. Why noise drains you? Why crowds exhaust you? Why superficial conversations repel you? This is not weakness. This is refinement. God is heightening your sensitivity so you can discern what others miss. God is slowing you down so your spirit can lead instead of your impulses. God is recalibrating your nervous system because where you are going requires clarity under pressure. Peace in chaos, and strength without strain. You were never meant to function like everyone else. That is why copying others always left you empty. That is why forcing yourself into systems not designed for you created frustration. God never designed chosen ones for mass production. God designed you for assignment. When God assigns, God adapts. When God adapts, God restructures. And when God restructures, there is discomfort because old wiring resists new flow. There are moments when you feel like your body is fighting you. Your energy fluctuates. Your emotions intensify. Your thoughts deepen. Your awareness expands. This is because God is upgrading your internal operating system. You cannot pour new responsibility into old endurance. You cannot carry divine weight with human strength. God is teaching your body how to rest deeply, recover quickly, endure longer, and respond wisely. What you once pushed through, God now tells you to release. What you once ignored, God now highlights. This is not regression. This is mastery. Understand this truth deeply. God never reveals the full weight of an assignment until the vessel can handle it. That is why you are being conditioned before you are promoted. That is why doors delay while your inner world accelerates. That is why silence surrounds you while power builds within you. God is not withholding your future. God is fortifying you for it. You are not losing passion. You are losing distractions. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming focused. You are not becoming weak. You are becoming precise. The chosen often feel misunderstood because their transformation happens internally before it manifests externally. Others judge what they cannot perceive. They see withdrawal and call it laziness. They see solitude and call it isolation. They see rest and call it stagnation. But God sees preparation. There are seasons when God removes your appetite for what once satisfied you. Food, entertainment, social approval, noise, validation, all of it begins to lose its grip. This is because God is recalibrating your pleasure centers. You are being trained to draw satisfaction from alignment, not stimulation. God is teaching you to move by conviction, not craving. When this shift happens, the body must adapt because old rewards no longer trigger the same response. This is why you feel restless yet still, hungry yet full, tired yet alert. God is tuning you to a higher frequency. Chosen ones often go through unexplained fatigue, not because they are doing too much, but because transformation consumes energy. Growth is metabolically expensive. Internal rebuilding requires resources. God allows your body to slow so it can redirect energy from performance to formation. You are being rebuilt from the inside out. Muscles of endurance you never knew you needed are forming. Emotional resilience you never trained for is developing. Mental clarity you never practiced is stabilizing. This is not visible yet, but it is real. There are moments when you feel like you are shedding layers of yourself, old identities, old ambitions, old fears, old versions that no longer fit. This shedding can feel like loss, but it is actually alignment. God never subtracts without intention. What leaves creates room. What dissolves makes space. What falls away was never meant to carry what is coming. God is not stripping you. God is lightening you so you can move faster, stand stronger, and endure longer. You must understand that chosen ones are not prepared through comfort. Comfort preserves the old structure. Pressure reshapes it. God uses pressure strategically, not to break you, but to reveal what is already within you. Pressure exposes weak connections so they can be reinforced. Pressure trains your body to remain calm when others panic. Pressure teaches your mind to stay clear when others scatter. Pressure conditions your spirit to remain anchored when everything shifts. There is a reason your tolerance for dishonesty has disappeared. There is a reason your body reacts strongly to environments that are misaligned. There is a reason your sleep patterns are changing. There is a reason your intuition feels sharper. God is integrating your mind, body, and spirit into coherence. You are being taught to listen to signals you once ignored. Your body is becoming an instrument of discernment, not just a vehicle of action. Many chosen ones mistake this season for confusion because they are not used to internal silence. God removes external noise so internal instruction can be heard. When God speaks quietly, the body must become still to listen. This stillness can feel uncomfortable because you were trained to equate movement with progress. But God equates alignment with readiness. When you are aligned, movement becomes effective instead of exhausting. You are not meant to live in survival mode. Survival burns the body out. God is transitioning you into sustainability. That requires different rhythms, different boundaries, different expectations. You can no longer force productivity. You must flow with purpose. You can no longer override rest. You must honor recovery. You can no longer chase urgency. You must follow timing. This shift feels like resistance because your old wiring was trained for urgency, not wisdom. Chosen ones often experience emotional purging. Waves of emotion that seem to come from nowhere. This is not instability. This is detoxification. Stored tension, suppressed grief, unresolved fear, all of it surfaces when God begins to heal deeply. Your body releases what your mind survived. Do not resist this. Let it pass through. What is released will not return. What is healed will no longer control you. You are being trained to carry authority without aggression, confidence without arrogance, power without chaos. This requires internal regulation. God is teaching your nervous system how to remain steady while carrying weight. This is why you are learning patience in small moments. This is why delays are training you. This is why unanswered questions are strengthening you. You are learning to trust without constant reassurance. There will be moments when you feel like you are standing still while others advance. Do not be deceived by movement without direction. God prepares chosen ones beneath the surface. Roots grow in darkness. Foundations are laid in silence. Strength is built where applause cannot reach. When your time comes, your stability will outlast their speed. You are not being punished for your sensitivity. Sensitivity is your strength. God sharpens your perception so you can lead with insight, not impulse. You feel deeply because you are designed to understand deeply. You withdraw because you are designed to observe clearly. You pause because you are designed to move accurately. This is not fragility. This is precision. There are times when your body refuses to cooperate with demands that once felt manageable. This is God enforcing boundaries you refuse to set. You cannot override your design forever. God will protect the assignment even if it means interrupting your routine. When your body says no, it is often God saying, not like this, not anymore, not at this cost. You are being prepared for visibility, but visibility without grounding destroys. God grounds you first. You are being prepared for responsibility, but responsibility without regulation overwhelms. God regulates you first. You are being prepared for influence, but influence without integrity corrupts. God purifies you first. Everything happening now is preventative, not punitive. Chosen ones are often misunderstood during preparation because their transformation does not match conventional success. You may look slower, quieter, less driven by external metrics, but internally you are becoming unshakable. Your reactions are changing. Your priorities are shifting. Your tolerance for chaos is decreasing. Your commitment to truth is intensifying. These are signs of readiness. God is teaching you to move from effort to alignment. Effort drains. Alignment sustains. When you move in alignment, your body cooperates instead of resists. Your energy multiplies instead of depletes. Your clarity sharpens instead of scatters. This is why God is rewiring you now, so that when movement begins, it will be sustainable, powerful, and precise. You may feel like parts of you are dissolving. Old confidence, old certainty, old definitions of strength. This is because God is replacing surface confidence with rooted assurance. What you are losing was dependent on conditions. What you are gaining is anchored in truth. This kind of strength does not announce itself. It reveals itself under pressure. There is a future version of you that requires a calmer nervous system, a clearer mind, a stronger spirit, and a body that listens instead of reacts. God is shaping that version now. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are becoming. The chosen are often isolated because isolation accelerates transformation. Without constant feedback, comparison, and interference, God can work uninterrupted. This solitude is not abandonment, it is access. God draws you close so you can be reshaped without distraction. When the work is complete, connection will return with purpose. You are being trained to hear God above your fears, above your habits, above your conditioning. This requires internal quiet. This requires discipline. This requires surrender. Not the kind that gives up, but the kind that lets go of control. When you stop forcing outcomes, your body relaxes. When your body relaxes, clarity emerges. When clarity emerges, movement becomes effortless. Do not rush this season. Do not label it wrongly. Do not compare your internal process to someone else's external progress. God measures readiness differently than people do. God looks at capacity, not speed. God looks at depth, not display. God looks at alignment, not appearance. What is coming will require discernment more than strength, wisdom more than urgency, stability more than speed. That is why God is rewiring you now. Your body is learning to respond instead of react. Your mind is learning to observe instead of assume. Your spirit is learning to trust instead of control. There will come a moment when everything you endured suddenly makes sense, not intellectually, but internally. Your body will feel settled. Your mind will feel clear. Your spirit will feel steady. You will move without strain. You will speak without fear. You will act without hesitation. And others will wonder how you carry so much with such calm. That calm is trained. That strength is built. That clarity is earned through surrender. God does not rush this process because God protects what God prepares. You are being wired not for survival, but for stewardship. Not for chaos, but for order. Not for noise, but for authority. You were never meant to fit into systems that drain you. You were meant to create environments that heal. You were never meant to chase validation. You were meant to embody truth. You were never meant to live in urgency. You were meant to move in timing. Every sensation, every pause, every internal shift has purpose. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. Nothing is accidental. God is intentional with chosen ones because the assignment is intentional. There is a sacred intelligence within you that God is awakening, and it goes far beyond emotion or instinct. It is discernment refined through surrender. God is teaching you to recognize what is not aligned before it ever touches your life. That is why certain opportunities no longer excite you, even when they look impressive. That is why praise sometimes feels hollow. God is training your inner compass to respond to truth, not appearance. This is not arrogance, it is maturity. When God entrusts greater responsibility, God sharpens perception so deception cannot take root. You are entering a phase where speed will no longer be your advantage, accuracy will. God is slowing your impulses so your decisions carry weight. A rushed chosen one is dangerous to the assignment, but a grounded chosen one becomes unstoppable. God is removing the need to prove, to rush, to impress. When urgency dies, wisdom rises. When impatience fades, authority grows. This is why delays feel longer now. They are training you to breathe under pressure, to wait without anxiety, to trust without evidence. There is also a deep internal strengthening happening that many overlook. God is fortifying your emotional core so you are no longer governed by reaction. Where you once absorbed the moods, opinions, and projections of others, you are now earning to remain steady. This is not emotional distance, it is emotional sovereignty. God is teaching you to feel without being controlled, to empathize without being drained, to care without carrying burdens that were never yours. This emotional discipline is part of the rewiring. You cannot lead, guide, or influence while being internally unstable. You may notice that confrontation feels different now. You are no longer drawn to explain yourself endlessly or defend your intentions. Silence has become a language. Restraint has become power. God is teaching you that authority does not argue, it stands. Truth does not shout, it remains. When you are aligned, you do not need to convince. Your presence communicates what words cannot. This shift often confuses people who were used to accessing you emotionally. But access is earned in the next season, not assumed. God is also retraining how you experience time. You may feel moments stretch and others pass quickly. This is because God is pulling you out of urgency and into awareness. When you are present, time becomes a tool instead of a threat. God wants you to move with intention, not pressure. This is preparation for stewardship. Those who cannot manage their inner pace cannot manage greater influence. God slows you internally so you can move precisely externally. Another angle of this transformation is the breaking of false strength. God is dismantling the identity that survived through self-reliance alone. That version of you was necessary for survival, but it cannot carry the next assignment. Self-reliance creates exhaustion. God-dependence creates sustainability. This shift can feel like vulnerability because you are no longer armored by control. But what feels like weakness is actually trust being built into your system. Your body is learning that it does not need to stay in constant defense mode. You are also becoming less reactive to fear-based narratives. What once triggered anxiety now registers as information without panic. This is not desensitization, it is mastery. God is teaching you to see clearly without being shaken. Fear loses power when the nervous system is regulated. This is part of the rewiring. Your body is learning that not every signal is a threat. This calm awareness allows you to respond wisely instead of impulsively. There will be moments when you grieve the old version of yourself, not because it was wrong, but because it carried you through hardship. Honor that version, but do not cling to it. God honors growth. The strength that once came from endurance is being replaced by strength that comes from alignment. You are no longer meant to survive storms constantly. You are meant to navigate with clarity. God is also purifying your motivations. Desires that were fueled by comparison are dissolving. Goals driven by external validation are losing appeal. What remains is purpose that feels quiet but unshakable. This kind of purpose does not rush. It waits for alignment. It does not compete, it completes. When God rewires motivation, ambition becomes stewardship and drive becomes devotion. You may feel an increased need for solitude, not because you dislike people, but because you are integrating. Integration requires space. God is weaving together wisdom, experience, restraint, and vision into coherence. This inner coherence is rare and it cannot be rushed. When integration is complete, you will notice that decisions feel simpler, confusion fades, direction clarifies, not because life becomes easier, but because you become clearer. God is also strengthening your ability to carry silence. Silence is not emptiness, it is depth. Those who fear silence often fear themselves. But chosen ones learn to dwell in silence because that is where guidance becomes clear. God does not compete with noise. When you are comfortable in stillness, you can hear what others miss. This is part of the preparation for leadership without ego. There is a reason your tolerance for chaos is diminishing. Chaos drains what God is building. God is training you to create order wherever you go, not through control, but through presence. Regulated people regulate environments. Grounded people stabilize rooms. You will notice that others feel calmer around you without knowing why. This is not coincidence. This is evidence of internal alignment. You are also being taught to respect limits. Limits are not weakness, they are wisdom. God sets limits to protect longevity. Burnout is not sacrifice, it is imbalance. God wants you whole, not depleted. This is why your body now resists overextension. This is divine correction, not inconvenience. As this rewiring continues, you will find that your intuition becomes less emotional and more precise. You will know without needing explanation. You will sense without needing proof. This is not mysticism, it is clarity refined through surrender. God sharpens inner awareness when the outer noise quiets. Do not fear the unknown ahead. What is coming will meet you prepared. God never reveals a future without first preparing the vessel. The discomfort you feel now is temporary, but the stability being built is lasting. When movement begins, it will feel natural, not forced. When doors open, you will not rush through them. You will walk with assurance. Remain attentive, remain humble, remain aligned. The work happening within you is sacred. God is not finished, but God is precise. Every pause, every shift, every internal adjustment is shaping you for a level of responsibility that requires wholeness, not haste. There is also a recalibration happening in how you relate to struggle itself. God is teaching you that's true. Gale is not always an enemy. Sometimes it is an instructor. You are learning to read resistance as information, not intimidation. When something drains you now, it is not a challenge to conquer, but a signal to realign. When something brings quiet strength, it is confirmation, not coincidence. God is sharpening your ability to interpret life correctly, so you stop wasting energy on battles that were never assigned to you. You are being trained to trust internal confirmation over external consensus. In earlier seasons, agreement made you feel safe. Now, alignment makes you feel steady. God is teaching you to move without applause, to stand without reinforcement, to remain rooted when no one understands what you are doing. This is essential, because what you are being prepared for will not be validated in advance. God does not reveal outcomes to crowds before they are fulfilled. God reveals direction to the chosen and teaches them to walk by trust, not approval. There is a purification happening in how you communicate. Words feel heavier now. You no longer speak carelessly or promise easily. God is teaching you the weight of language, the power of restraint, the authority of timing. You are learning that not everything needs to be explained and not everyone needs access to your process. This is not secrecy, it is stewardship. God entrusts revelation to those who know when to be silent. You may also notice a shift in how your body responds to truth. When something is aligned, there is calm, even if it is challenging. When something is misaligned, there is unrest, even if it looks attractive. This is discernment embodied. God is integrating wisdom into your physical awareness so you do not live divided between knowing and doing. When mind, body, and spirit agree, movement becomes powerful and sustainable. God is also healing your relationship with uncertainty. What once triggered anxiety now invites curiosity. You are learning to rest without needing all the answers. This is deep trust. Those who must control outcomes cannot carry divine assignments because control suffocates growth. God teaches chosen ones to walk forward with clarity of direction, not certainty of outcome. This kind of faith stabilizes the nervous system and frees the mind. There is a subtle but profound shift occurring in how you view authority. You no longer associate authority with dominance, noise, or force. God is revealing that true authority is calm, consistent, and grounded. It does not chase attention. It commands respect through presence. This is why God is training you to regulate your inner world. Authority flows from coherence, not chaos. You are also being separated from cycles of emotional dependency. God is teaching you to stand whole without leaning on constant reassurance. This does not make you distant, it makes you dependable. Those who cannot self-regulate cannot be trusted with influence. God is building inner stability so you can support others without collapsing yourself. At times, you may feel like you are standing at the edge of something undefined. This liminal space can feel uncomfortable because it offers no familiar markers. But this is where transformation completes. Old identities have dissolved and new ones have not yet fully formed. God uses these spaces to finalize alignment. Do not rush to label yourself. Let God finish the work. You are also being trained to recognize that rest is not inactivity, it is strategy. God rested creation not because of fatigue, but because completion requires pause. When you honor rest, you signal trust. When you ignore rest, you signal fear. God is teaching you to rest as an act of faith, not as a reward for exhaustion. Your sense of purpose is also becoming less dramatic and more grounded. Go is stripping away fantasies and replacing them with responsibility. Purpose is no longer about impact alone. It is about integrity. God cares less about how loud your influence is and more about how clean it is. This is why inner refinement precedes outward expansion. There will be moments when others try to pull you back into old dynamics. Old urgency, old expectations, old roles. You may feel pressure to explain why you no longer move the same way. Resist the urge to justify. Growth does not ask permission. Alignment does not need defense. God will validate what God has initiated. You are also learning to respect the pace God sets for you. Comparison is losing its grip because it no longer makes sense. God did not design your timeline to match anyone else's. When you stop measuring yourself against others, your body relaxes. When the body relaxes, intuition sharpens. When intuition sharpens, decisions become cleaner. God is training you to recognize that not every open door is an assignment. Opportunity without alignment is distraction. God is teaching you to ask deeper questions. Does this strengthen me or drain me? Does this clarify or confuse me? Does this align with who I am becoming or who I used to be? These questions protect the future God is preparing. You may feel moments of profound gratitude for things that once went unnoticed. Quiet mornings, deep breaths, simple clarity. This is not sentimentality, it is presence. God is anchoring you in the now because power is always accessed in the present. Anxiety lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. Authority lives in the now. As this season continues, you will notice that your reactions are slower, but your responses are stronger. You are no longer easily provoked, but when you move, it is with conviction. This is maturity. God does not rush the mature because maturity sustains impact. Do not underestimate the work happening in unseen places. The rewiring within you is preparing you to carry clarity into confusion, peace into pressure, and order into disorder. God is not shaping you to escape difficulty, but to transform environments through steadiness. There is a deeper courage being formed within you, one that does not announce itself or seek recognition. God is teaching you to stand firm without spectacle, to endure without bitterness, to advance without hostility. This courage is quiet, but it is unbreakable. It does not rise from adrenaline or emotion. It rises from trust refined through surrender. When fear attempts to reassert itself, this courage does not argue, it remains steady. God is building something in you that cannot be shaken by uncertainty or opposition. You are also being trained to recognize that not every challenge is meant to be confronted head-on. Some are meant to be outgrown. God is sharpening your wisdom to know when to engage and when to disengage. Withdrawal is not defeat when it preserves alignment. Silence is not weakness when it protects clarity. God is teaching you strategic restraint because the future you are stepping into will require discernment more than force. There is an internal reordering of values taking place. What once felt urgent no longer commands you. What once felt essential is now optional. God is simplifying your inner world so you can move with focus. Complexity drains power. Clarity concentrates it. This is why distractions are losing their appeal. God is narrowing your attention so your impact can deepen. You may notice that your tolerance for superficial connection is fading. Conversations without substance exhaust you. Interactions without integrity unsettle you. This is not pride, it is alignment. God is attuning your spirit to depth, because surface level engagement cannot sustain what you are being prepared to carry. You are being trained to value quality over quantity, truth over noise, meaning over momentum. God is also transforming how you process disappointment. What once would have discouraged you now instructs you. You no longer internalize delay as rejection. You interpret it as redirection. This shift protects your spirit from unnecessary wounds. When disappointment loses its sting, resilience takes its place. God is teaching you that outcomes do not define worth. Alignment does. There is a strengthening of patience happening that goes beyond waiting. This patience is active. It observes, it prepares, it remains alert. God is teaching you to wait without stagnation and move without anxiety. This balance is rare and it is powerful. Those who master it can act decisively when the moment arrives because they are not scattered internally. You are also learning to release the need to be understood. God is freeing you from the burden of explanation. When your identity is rooted in God, misunderstanding loses its power. You no longer shrink to be accepted or expand to be admired. You remain. This steadiness is a form of authority. It communicates security without words. God is recalibrating how you experience success. Success is no longer measured by visibility, but by alignment. You are learning that a quiet step in the right direction carries more power than loud movement in the wrong one. This internal shift protects you from chasing illusions. God is anchoring you in truth so you are not swayed by appearances. There is also a restoration of inner trust happening. You are beginning to trust your discernment again, not because you are infallible, but because you are attentive. God is teaching you to listen before acting, to sense before deciding. This attentiveness sharpens intuition and prevents unnecessary struggle. When you move with awareness, resistance increases. You may feel a growing intolerance for self-betrayal. You can no longer ignore what you know is misaligned. This is not rigidity, it is integrity awakening. God is strengthening your commitment to truth even when it is inconvenient. Integrity stabilizes the soul. Without it, power corrupts. With it, power serves. God is also teaching you to honor transitions. Transitions are uncomfortable because they require letting go before receiving. But this in-between space is sacred. It is where old patterns lose authority and new ones take root. God uses transitions to finalize inner shifts. Do not rush to define the next chapter before the current transformation completes. You are learning to recognize that peace is not the absence of challenge, but the presence of alignment. Even in uncertainty, there is calm. Even in effort, there is steadiness. This peace is not emotional, it is foundational. God establishes it so you can operate without internal conflict. There is a deepening humility forming within you, not the kind that diminishes self-worth, but the kind that removes ego. God is teaching you that humility expands capacity. When ego shrinks, wisdom grows. When self-importance fades, clarity sharpens. This humility allows you to learn continuously, adapt quickly, and lead without oppression. You are also being prepared to hold complexity without confusion. God is expanding your mental and spiritual capacity so you can see multiple layers without becoming overwhelmed. This ability allows you to navigate situations others oversimplify or avoid. God entrusts complexity to those who can remain grounded within it. As this rewiring continues, you will notice that your faith is no longer dependent on outcomes. It is rooted in alignment. Whether things unfold quickly or slowly, your trust remains. This stability is rare and it is powerful. God builds it carefully because it sustains influence over time. Remain attentive to what strengthens you. Remain honest about what drains you. Remain anchored in the truth that God is intentional with every detail of this process. You are not being reshaped for survival, but for stewardship. What is forming within you will soon require expression. And when that moment comes, you will not strain to rise. You will simply step forward, fully prepared, fully aligned, and fully grounded in God.